versus Vitality. There we go, welcome back. Sorry, Sjokz. It's Schalke 04 taking on Vitality. I'm Quickshot, joined by Vedius. And just a quick update on what has happened since Origin have been eliminated from playoff contention. Rogue went from last place in spring, and now they are locked into the summer playoffs. SK Gaming are still in the race, but they need Schalke to win here, and then they want to beat Vitality in a tiebreaker for the last spot.
So this game is pretty important for Vitality. For them to lock in playoff, a Vitality win will lock them in playoffs. If this does happen, we will not have any tiebreaker games at the end of the day. So everything can be decided in this game right now if Vitality can find that big win.
I kind of want the tiebreaker, I'm not going to lie. I like extra games. I like the pressure of it. I love the idea of a do-or-die battle between Vitality and SK. But before that, Vitality are battling for their own lives against Schalke. Vedius, what are your expectations for the draft?
Ooh, well, I think Sejuani's going to be banned. I feel like it's something that Trick loves to prioritize. If it's available, he'll always try to grab it. Yesterday, we saw some cool stuff coming out from Schalke in the form of the Mordekaiser's top lane. We also got to see IgNar with a bit of a pop-off performance on his Alistair. And I do think that Upset and IgNar have been improving steadily in the second half of the split. So I wouldn't be surprised if we saw a Kai'Sa first rotation. Sorry, not first pick, but in the first half of the draft for the side of Schalke.
Okay, we'll see if it's available and picked up. And of course, Upset versus Attila is always a match worth watching. It's definitely one that's been happening since both players and respective teams qualified into the top tier from Challenger. But my eye's also going to be on Mowgli versus Trick. Two very different styles of junglers and what sort of impact they can have in the game. Draven, Corki, Karma, followed by Yuumi, Xayah, and one last ban for Vitality.
So the Sejuani is what I would expect to be banned away. Thinking about other potential bans, they could consider banning the Kai'Sa if they want to limit the AD carry pool even more. They could look for a potential Rakan ban as well. But note, they are just going to stick with the typical Sejuani that we often see thrown towards Schalke, which does suggest that they could look to prioritize the Rakan if they wanted to. But they've got quite a few options under their belt, given that a lot of the big power mid laner picks are still up and available.
All right, Akali has been locked in. Abbedagge has played the champion 4 times, 3 wins and 1 loss under his belt. We know, as you mentioned, that Rakan is up as well. IgNar, 1 game played, he went unkilled actually. 1-0-14 on that pick. We'll figure out whether it goes through, but Kai'Sa is one of the champions you were mentioning a couple of moments ago. We'll see if Vitality or Schalke want to lock it in phase 1.
Well, Sylas is available, and I feel like it's something that Vitality love to grab if it is up. They probably want to try and get that into the Akali matchup as well, so I wouldn't be surprised to see it put into the hands of Jiizuké. Thinking about potential junglers, if Vitality wanted to, they could go for something early in the form of a Gragas, maybe even a Lee Sin, something that we often do see come out from the side of Mowgli. I would give them a little bit of early game skirmishing and power. The only thing they have to be aware of is the potential for Trick to answer with something like the Elise, which is something that he often does like to play to match up against his early junglers.
Ding on the money for the Lee Sin pick. Then Trick can pivot. If he goes for the Elise, 2 games played on stage, 1 win and 1 loss. And reminder, of course, that Schalke are locked into the playoffs. They've got that 4th seed, which means they are not available for selection by Splice, who will like to take the 3rd. And there's the Kai'Sa hover. We're potentially locked in here for Upset and denying that pick from Attila.
So we talked a little bit about it earlier. It's a very safe bot laner. The Upset is more than happy to play. Also, Schalke usually don't like to invest a huge amount of resources into the bot side of the map, which is what makes Kai'Sa very good. Now, if they wanted to go extra defensive, they could lock a Braum in right now, but if they wanted a little bit of engage, they could save their support pick to the second half and instead just lock in something like an Olaf or an Elise for a bit of early game power to better enable the mid-jungle duo.
And it's going to be the Qiyana locked in here to complement the Akali. Obviously, Flex. Kind of wonder if that's going to go in the jungle for Trick.
Well, what's important to remember is that for Schalke, this game doesn't mean a huge amount. So they could be considering options in terms of flexibility. They could look to put the Qiyana top and see if they can run this double assassin style. Or they could just go for the mid-jungle powerhouse of Akali and Qiyana and give it to Trick. I think it's a couple of options, and it's not really a style that we often see from Schalke. So in the final game of the split, they could just be experimenting with different styles coming into play.
Do you have a preference on what you think these players could pull off? Because I kind of like the idea of the mid-jungle duo.
I agree.
But obviously we know that Odo could play. When I look down the champion list, he's definitely got a plethora of champions under his belt. And it would be a surprise to me if it landed in Odo's hands.
Yeah, I would be a little surprised, but he often talks about how he rarely gets the opportunity to play these fun champions, so maybe Schalke are doing him a favor. We'll have to wait and see as we move into the second half of the draft, but notice how the Alistair was picked up for the side of Vitality as a means of denying that away from IgNar. We already talked earlier on about how he had a pop-off performance on it yesterday, and by Vitality locking it in, they can now limit the support pool and guarantee themselves a stronger matchup in the 2v2 towards the bot side of the map.
Let's talk about that AD carry for Attila, because with Lucian off the table, Draven off the table, Xayah, Kai'Sa already picked yesterday. He ran the Caitlyn, it was in conjunction with the Morgana. But we know the likes of Siva is up and available. Ashen Varus is something I've been hearing talked a lot about on this patch over the time. So, you know, what direction do you think he goes, assuming it's that bot lane that's going to get locked in right now?
Well, because it's Attila, he might do Vayne. I'm not going to promise anything, but Vayne can work. You could also look into a potential Jinx. You do have an early range advantage, and you can look to threaten, and it's something that Attila has brought out in the past. As you rightly said, a lot of AD carries are very limited right now, so I wouldn't be surprised to see Attila bring out something unique, but again, he doesn't have to lock it in right now.
Okay, so let's see if he does. Save that counter pick option for Cabo. Yamato Cannon on screen right now. Wants to look for the win, and of course, overlooked the most common AD, the most.
That's just not what I expect Attila to go for, you know, especially when he's going up against the likes of Upset. But in any case, they will be playing more of a safer 2v2 in the bot lane. Ezreal can throw out a lot of harass during the laning phase as well, so it makes sense as a duo, and it is going to be very safe, as we mentioned.
And as you mentioned much earlier in the draft there, Vedius, the Rakan, a pick that was under consideration, could have been potentially banned, could have been denied. Instead, IgNar will still get it in his hands. So Rakan plus Kai'Sa, and if this Rumble gets locked in, then at least that means our instincts for how Schalke would be playing the game lands. We anticipate Kiana in the jungle, Akali mid, and Odoamne will get his hands on Rumble.
So Schalke have drafted themselves a very early to mid-game style of comp. Rumble spikes very hard at 2 items. Kiana, we know that once she gets level 6, very effective. The same for the Assassin in the mid lane for Akali. So I feel like Schalke is going to be looking to group up and fight. It's something that they often do. It is a tried and true strategy that they like to utilize. Normally, they have a little bit more crowd control in their kit, which often comes from the likes of Trick and Odoamne. However, now they're running more of a carry threat. They have multiple sources of damage from all of their primary carries, and you've got Trick on the Kiana as well. So this is definitely a high-risk, high-reward gameplay style, because if you fall behind too much, I'm looking at the scaling on the side of Vitality, and I feel that it's quite prevalent. That's not to say that a Kai'Sa is going to necessarily fall off in the late game, but you look at their ability to engage on the likes of an Ezreal, and it is very hard to lock that guy down unless you have both the Akali and Kiana finding successful flanks. So I feel like Schalke need to focus on getting an early lead, getting control over the side lanes, and forcing skirmishes into team fights after finding picks.
Well, if there was a team that could pull it off, I think Trick and this Schalke squad can. We've seen it a few times in the past as the coaches shake hands. We'll be jumping into Schalke, taking on Vitality. Well, let's take a look how they handle themselves. As you mentioned, for Vitality, a win here will secure themselves 5th place. We know Rogue already in the playoffs, and a loss for Vitality means they'll play one more game, a tiebreaker with SK. So all the pressure is on Vitality to step up and seal the deal for playoffs. Will Vitality do it right here, right now? Let's find out. Welcome back to the 3rd to last regularly scheduled game of the summer split here in the LEC. We'll take a look down the list to figure out what's going to be happening, because Vedi says, you rightly pointed out, in terms of expectations, decision-making, a bit more pressure on the side of Schalke to get themselves ahead, get a lead with the comp that they have.
So it's it's quite cool what Schalke have in terms of their comp. I personally love seeing Akali Qiyana as a duo. We've seen it multiple times for a bunch of different teams in Europe, being flexed in both jungle, top, mid. The amount of variation you have with this duo in particular is really strong. And what's great about it is, because one is AD and one is AP, you can't just itemize to handle one of them. If you try and mitigate the Akali damage, you're going to get one shot by the AD damage coming out from the Qiyana, and vice versa. So what is great about both these assassins as well is, while they excel in terms of skirmishing and side lane threat, they're also very strong in team fights. And because you have the Rakan Engage combined with the Rumble ultimate, they each have a lot of options when fighting around objectives specifically. But if they're not fighting around objectives, then they want to be looking for picks and looking for skirmishes. But when things like the Dragon and Baron spawn, Schalke should not be afraid to contest Vitality, because in these narrow choke points, Qiyana can make up for a lack of utility that is provided from the rest of the Schalke composition.
Yeah, really, really impressive. And one of the things that's going to be interesting is the play style of Vitality kind of leans into that, doesn't it? Vitality quite like the skirmishes. Vitality like to get in your face. Yesterday we saw Mowgli having a very, proactive early game. Very heavy counter jungle style of jungler. I do have a little bit of stats to contrast Trick and Mowgli, and Vedius, I want to ask some expectations on how these individual players not only match up one against another, but when you look down at kills plus assists, Trick significantly outperforming, 3.5 on average, counter jungle percentage significantly lower, however, so there's that difference there.
So, as you rightly said, one of the biggest differences is Mowgli likes to use his pressure in order to invade in the enemy jungle and steal away camps, whereas Trick likes to spend a huge amount of time ganking towards his laners, in particular the mid lane. He often plays around mid. More recently, he's been playing a little bit more around the bot side of the map, but in this game, I feel like that he wants to be trying to enable this Akali as much as possible. Whereas for Mowgli, I think it's way more important for him to try and get Cabochard ahead. Notably because Odoamne on this Rumble has a really big mid-game spike. And if you can delay that, then it's really potent. But Trick is trying to already get him ahead in the top side.
Well, early gank already. Very good hop there from Cabo. Managing to use the mini-gnar flawlessly. Here comes Mowgli, gets the resonating strike rather, chases forward. There's no further follow-up because you have a tiny little stutter. And at the end of the day, Vitality come over with a little more HP.
Quite an interesting path that Trick took there, going from his raid into his Raptors, into then only securing a few of his Wolves, and then actually going up towards blue, and then securing the invade. So he does actually get the level 3, and he's actually in a position to kill Cabochard, but he doesn't quite land the combo, which means the crowd control doesn't follow through, and neither team ends up with an early kill. Meanwhile, we see Abbedagge being threatened in the mid lane against Jiizuké.
Yeah, huge chunk of damage from Jiizuké, managing to land that CC and follow-up combo. There is some threat here from Mowgli behind, but a little too low level, especially if there's minion waves to play with, and Trick maybe sniffing this one out. Trick's going to be in range if any trouble breaks out. Trick's actually going to come in right behind Jiizuké. Jiizuké's in trouble. He needs to get a little bit more damage down. Flash forward, Abbedagge follows up. First blood to Trick and Schalke.
Well, actually, Vitality secure first blood down in the bot lane. Quickshot.
Oh, I completely missed that one.
Jactroll and Attila find themselves a 2 versus 2 kill against the likes of Upset. Definitely was not expecting that to happen. We'll get a replay and see exactly what happened there, but
did that happen exactly the same time?
Yeah,
I literally was so focused.
Literally the same time. So, Mowgli now pathing towards bot. He may have called out Trick, but Schalke do have priority in the lane right now.
Oh, take a look at that. The headbutt comes down. Jactroll is burning to death. IgNar actually gets the kill secure. And Trick was in time. So Vitality, they did get first blood. Hopefully we catch a replay of that while that was going on. Pretty good gank from Trick in the mid lane.
Yeah, and this is something, we'll talk a little bit about that because now we do have the replay. So let's have a look at what happens bot. So, it's pretty,
fail flash.
Oh, you hate to see it.
And frankly, Upset shouldn't have been called there.
No, I mean, that was terrible from Upset. He was sitting in the middle of a wave, and he thought he was safe because he had the wave, but his support wasn't there. He was pushing in, he was getting vision in the river, so he ends up getting properly punished by the likes of Jactroll, but then Jactroll throws it away by overstaying in bot, gets knocked up by IgNar, and then with the support there, funnily enough, Schalke end up winning the 2 versus 2.
Okay, so as far as the kills are secured, Trick and IgNar on the side of Schalke, they are the ones that were the beneficiaries. Only Jactroll on the side of Vitality, and now Trick steps through a little bit of vision, so Vitality are aware of it. Jiizuké's already left the lane. Jactroll trying to be a little cheeky, I think, but I don't think he'll find any targets just yet. But a lot of action already in this bottom half of the map.
Well, we expected action to happen. I'm glad that we got to see that trick gank mid and actually pay off against the likes of Jiizuké. We talked about how important this is, especially in this matchup where you'll notice Abbedagge is running the Electrocute. Something that Caps did at MSI was shift away from Electrocute into going for the Conqueror to make this more sustained matchup, more viable for the Akali. But if you stick with the Electrocute, in terms of the 1v1, you're actually weaker. So in terms of the early skirmishing, we saw how Jiizuké got push, had control over the lane, and if jungle assistance didn't come, that matchup was only going to get worse and worse. But now Abbedagge has the level advantage, he's been able to go back to base, and he should be in a much more comfortable position as we see a gank up towards top side.
And look, it's another gank again. You wanted to see skirmish heavy from Schalke, and it's working out. Cabo, though, manages to get the IgNar off. Odoamne below 100 HP. He manages to get the shield from the W and turns around. Trick is still arranged to help out, and just a summoner spell blown, but Cabo, perfect timing on that Gnar bar to save his own life.
So I never really understand how Mowgli is always around topside whenever he gets ganked. The one thing you can say about Mowgli with confidence is that he loves to play around Cabochard. A lot of his time is spent enabling the top laner, trying to get him ahead. And in this situation, it felt like the jungler shouldn't have been there. Yet, lo and behold, he's there to help support as we see more fighting bot lane.
There is indeed good damage onto Schalke's bot lane as Jactroll continues to push all the way forward. Looks like the Hex Flash plus Ignite was used, so damage onto Upset, and IgNar is forced backwards. Upset hasn't really been able to back in a little bit. He's under some pressure as Abbedagge is still being shoved in and pushed in. The sustain from that Silas is doing work. Here comes Mowgli. If Abbedagge takes a skill shot to the face, he could go down. Mowgli doesn't have the ultimate just yet, though.
You can see in these trades how Abbedagge is often falling short. And this is giving Jiizuké constant priority in this lane, allowing Mowgli to get control over the river. He has control over top side, and after finding that fight in bot, they've naturally been able to gain control over the dragon as well. Trick hasn't had an opportunity to base just yet. He's low on health, but he has just hit level 6. Schalke, they don't have teleport on top, but they're looking to collapse anyway.
Okay, Trick is coming up. Supreme Display of Talent is available to him. Mid lane movement from Jiizuké first. And Schalke, I think safely say not worth the risk, back out. So they concede the dragon despite having full vision. It's an even gold game. It's a dragon to vitality, but the kill advantage to Schalke. Whoa, that was the flash engage. Jactroll just able to escape as Attila used the E. Now Abbedagge, he's in trouble. Perfect execution from Jiizuké. He pulls the trigger, does not have the damage, and takes a tower shot for his trouble.
Jiizuké unfortunately missed the ultimate there from Abbedagge, but here's Odoamne.
Oh, not going to be enough just yet. Jiizuké is able to escape.
So, clutch stuff there coming up from Jiizuké. This guy always plays on the edge in the mid lane. He's always over pushing, and very rarely does he have the jungle support to allow that kind of play style, which is why we often see a lot of jungle attention trying to shut him down. But props to Jiizuké, he's been able to avoid a decent amount of the pressure outside of that very first gank, and he has been able to reclaim a bit of a CS advantage in mid lane. He knows that he has the advantage in this 1 versus 1, and he's doing what he can to leverage that as much as possible.
All right, and as we got the first few backs, you touched on a second ago, Vedius, some of the players making way. So Hextech Revolver, as well as that Vamp Scepter for Abbedagge in the mid lane. BF Sword and Quickshot for Upset down bottom tier, and Sheen for Attila as Jactroll just coming in after backing away. Got those Moby boots himself. And it feels like Trick and Jactroll just keep walking past one another in this river. It's happened several times over the last few minutes. And now all of a sudden, IgNar is just going to try zone Attila away. Very good W, managed to get the knockup. That's in trouble! Attila escapes a few seconds longer. One more auto is all that's needed, but Schalke cannot close the gap. The flash and the arcane shift gets him to safety.
I like the collapse coming out from Schalke. They knew that Jactroll had to take the long path around to bot lane in order to support his AD carry, so there was a big amount of time that could be used to try and find that kill. Unfortunately, Attila is too mobile. Schalke do not have the resources, nor really the crowd control in order to secure that kill, so while they do burn summoner spells, they do not walk away with extra gold in their back pocket.
Yeah, while all that's going on, by the way, Attila's down 22 CS. The tower is under a little bit of pressure, but not much more was gained. Mowgli just steals away the blue buff in that top half of the map, and you can see that Cabochard is still shoving the way forward into Odoamne. So, vitality after 10 minutes, bang on even. Gotta be fairly happy despite Trick's repeated attempts to get his squad ahead.
Yeah, and Trick has been ganking pretty much all over the map a lot. We've seen 3 ganks mid, 2 ganks top, 3 ganks bot. This guy's been very active in the early game, and so far he's only been able to find 1 kill. But as you highlighted, the bot discrepancy is starting to build. As a stun lands onto Abba.
Oh, almost enough for the kill here from Jiizuké. Needs to get a couple more skill shots. Mowgli's coming up as well. There was a team to tower dive. There's no minions though, so the risk goes up significantly. But the one thing you did mention in draft though, Vedius, was that a lot of the champions on Schalke's side, 1 and 2 items, they really come online, really happy. So this kind of speed of gameplay can accelerate from the Schalke squad once they pick up some of those big ticket items.
I mean, this is the thing though, they really wanted to get ahead early so that they can look to force these skirmishes. The fact that they don't have the early game advantage is not detrimental, but you look at the scaling aspect of Vitality with how strong Jactroll is to deal with and how limited options Schalke have to actually lock the Ez down. I feel like the longer the game goes, the easier it is for Vitality to play. But here comes a flanking TP.
All right, Odoamne as well as Abbedagge. They've got one, and now Jactroll is going to get cut down. Double kill for Abba. That's just coordination from Schalke.
And just as we say it, Schalke find the early kills that they've been looking for. It's not off the back of Trick, it is just off the back of some great usage of the teleport.
How critical are you of Attila and Jactroll being under the tower there?
It's just a lack of awareness of what summoner spells are available. They know that they have TP available on their AD carry, their mid laner, and their top laner. You can make an educated guess that the enemy team is in a similar position if your own team is tracking what the enemy is doing. They should have been aware, they should have known, they get collapsed on, and they don't respect the potential for a ward behind.
And this gives Schalke 1,000 gold advantage. While there's a skirmish by the Rift Herald, Jiizuké, he's picking a fight with Abbedagge. Upset and Jactroll are making their way in. Killer Instinct is available if Upset wants it. He's going to chase on Jiizuké. Jiizuké needs one more auto before he goes down. Upset dashes forward. He can't find the auto. Now Jactroll turns his attention to Upset. His trick forces Mowgli outside the pit. Odo is overheating and he will not be able to catch Cabo, but importantly, Trick got the Herald.
So, Schalke end up walking away with an objective advantage while Vitality find themselves another kill in the mid lane. The arrival of Jactroll really turned around that fight because if he hadn't arrived, Upset could have been the deciding factor and allowing Schalke to walk away with a kill and the objective. Jiizuké doesn't quite get over the wall with his E, so he will not lock up Upset, but it is giving Attila free time to hit onto these plates on the bot side of the map. This game, very chaotic in where a lot of the action is happening right now, but it feels like both teams are going blow for blow.
And it's what I expected when you started explaining the compositions in draft. This is not Schalke was looking to do, and this is Vitality's play style. But look, here's a replay of how this fight started. But look at the minimap. You can see Jactroll and Upset making their way.
So notice how Jiizuké is fighting, even though he doesn't have jungle support, nor does he really know where the enemy bot laner is. So the Rakan could be roaming up, and this is one of the risks that Jiizuké does have in this kind of play style. Fortunately, he knows that Jactroll is on his way. He has Ignite and the damage in order to support his mid laner. So he's able to walk away with the kill. Nice pickup, but because he goes to that fight, he's not supporting his jungler, which means Mowgli can't secure the Rift Herald, and Schalke still walk away with an ultimately big objective.
And that's something we've been seeing all split long. Mowgli and Jiizuké, they seem to be reading different playbooks in the same game. And this time around, it doesn't help them out. But take a look at the items, by the way. Black Cleaver, Proto Belt, Iceborne Gauntlet on the side of Vitality. Down the list, it's the Warrior Enchant for Trick Gunblade, as well as oh, I forgot the name right now, for Upset.
That's the Storm Razors.
Thank you, Storm Razors.
Yeah, no worries.
Storm Razors Edge. Absolutely brain dead. Nevertheless, Attila's going to TP down to bot lane. And once again, Attila's in trouble. Remember, he just TP'd down. IgNar's going to look for the engage. There is a flash available. Attila's going to hold on to it. It's a very easy kill and should lead towards a lot of damage on this tower as well.
So this is just a classic lack of awareness. Like, you only have to look at the minimap and go, wait, we have no wards in the river. Where is the rest of my team? They're in mid lane. There is a risk that the enemy team is in the river. And he doesn't back off and he ends up dying for it. Schalke do find a good pick, however, they do lose the mid tower. This gives Vitality a lot of access into the enemy jungle, and if you'll notice, they're actually making their way up towards the top side of the map right now. Odoamne does not have the stopwatch, but he does very quickly clear out the wave, so he avoids any potential dive, and Schalke are using this opportunity to get Rift Herald damage onto mid, and they may be able to trade for this tower as well.
Now let's see how much Vitality can stop. There's 2 or 3 members making their way down. Jiizuké cannot find the CC to follow up. There is a Cloud Drake available. Yesterday, Vitality were able to pull ahead against Misfits. They got a fairly strong advantage, but in the mid-game, didn't really press that advantage, didn't really find themselves in healthy positions to press, and we're seeing that again, just getting caught out in odd places, conceding deaths at the bottom tower for Attila and Jactroll. Attila being dove over and over and over. But the thing that I find interesting is, as we go later into the game, Vedius, if you turn nameplates off and you just look champion v champion, it's not an awful position to be in. Vitality have a dragon, they've got a tower, they're even on gold, but they have to execute that comp well. And that's where I get nervous.
Yeah, because what's important is that they take advantage of the range that they have. In terms of a straight-up 5v5, if Vitality don't have IgNar, it's going to be really difficult for them to execute, but they do have... like, these comps are kind of... The problem is Vitality's comp is kind of weird, right? When you pair up an Ezreal with something like a Sylas, it kind of suggests that Vitality is looking for more of a 1-3-1 style, but on a side lane, I don't know if I give them an advantage against the likes of an Akali. Maybe the fact that she did run the Electrocute means that she's not going to be able to 1v1 Jiizuké, and we've already seen it a few times how Jiizuké has constantly had the advantage. So I feel like the Schalke have stronger skirmishing, they have a stronger mid-game, and it's much easier for them to collapse on sides.
Well, Cabochard gets caught out by the charm. It's taken out by a 3-man dive of Schalke, and Schalke's proactive gameplay continues to work in their favor, albeit it's a small advantage. We step back and we look at the next few minutes. Schalke seem to be trying to accelerate the pace of the game.
Yeah.
What else should we be looking for?
So right now, Schalke's main objective is to take the outer towers. So after they secure top, it actually becomes pretty easy to secure the mid because you can set up flanks from either side of the jungle, given that you can set up pushes on the sides of the map. But Vitality are not being slouches. They pushed in mid, they're zoning Odoamne from the bot tower as well, and they're setting up to take this. But why are they going for the fight right now rather than just the objective?
Well, Equalizer that was stolen from Jiizuké gets put down, does not do a lot. Odo's feels a lot stronger as Jactroll's ultimate is starting to wear off. A couple seconds to go before Abbedagge's teleport completes. Abba has recalled and gone back to base. Waiting to see if the channel starts. There's not a lot of deep wards to make use of, but Trick has jumped over the wall. He doesn't have access to his ultimate, so he can't chase further. And Abbedagge will walk out. Vitality escape with their lives.
So notice that Vitality don't get the bot tier 1 either. So that was supposed to be a trade in that Schalke secure top tower, Vitality secure bot. But they were so focused on getting that kill that they don't actually walk away with an objective. And if there was a single ward that could come in from behind, they would have died. Because Upset had his TP up, Abbedagge had his TP up, Odoamne had his TP up as well. So Vitality were just overcommitting and they were greeding for kills. And it's something that we often see from them that ends up in their downfall. They need to focus more on the objectives rather than just trying to shut down the enemy in terms of the 1v1.
And the window of opportunity for Vitality is scary and scary. If Schalke win this game, it's a tiebreaker with Vitality and SK to make it into playoffs. And right now, Splice will actually be watching this game with bated breath because one of their opponents going to be Vitality, SK, or Rogue. Right now, IgNar, he goes in for the fight. Jactroll, no ultimate available, so he loses a bunch of HP. Trick comes in from the side. That's such great use of CC. Here comes Abbedagge, gets headbutted away, forced to run. Now the Equalizer will secure the kill. A full 5-man from Schalke is needed to pick it up. Jiizuké, perfect execution, is nicked away. He can't find a target to jump onto, and instead, he gets blown up. Trick and Upset wreck him as he chases forward. Mowgli's already used the ultimate, and he manages to tag the Q. Will not follow it through. Schalke get themselves two.
Jiizuké once again greeting for kills in this situation, and Schalke, the thing is, the difference is, you notice how Schalke secured those kills with very little risk. Abbedagge still walks away with his flash. He knows how much mobility he has on the Akali, so him diving that tower looked dangerous, but for the most part, he was pretty safe. In the worst case scenario, he's forced to flash, but like Schalke do everything with restraint. The only reason why they can't take the mid tier 1 is because it has enough health that they are able to defend it as a 4-man, and they'd lost a lot of health in their Akali, so they're forced to disengage. So notice here, the main goal for Schalke is to chunk Vitality out so that Trick can set up a flank, and if they get a kill, sieging this tower becomes a lot easier. So now you can see Abbedagge, he doesn't need to make this dive happen. All he really needs to do is threaten. But because they get vision on Jactroll, the Rumble ultimate comes through and they find a kill. Now they want to set up for the siege, but then Jiizuké arrives. He flashes over, he commits a summoner spell, and then he goes in for the hard commit. He thinks he can get the hit onto Abbedagge, he can't. And then, of course, Schalke lose the minion wave, and in a 3 versus 4 with IgNar on that low health, they choose to just disengage from the fight, and they'll just wait for another day and be happy with the goal that they've picked up.
Schalke remain 1,500 gold up as they're defending their own jungle for now. 30 seconds until the next Ocean Drake. And finally, their bottom outer turret will fall. Dustplate of Drakthar was picked up by Trick, and no real major items yet being completed. Attila's got his second, the mana, and that's busy stacking up. Swings that mirror mana. Next big potential engage. Feels like that dragon, when you look at Vitality's like line of vision, just behind that dragon pit, kind of signals what they're interested in.
So here's a little fun thing for you, Quickshot. One of the things you'll notice is you'll heard a lot of people talking about freezing right now, and there was an opportunity there for Jiizuké to freeze the top wave. The reason why he chose not to was because of the Drake. If you push in that wave, you force Schalke to catch it, and it's another point of pressure on the map that allows Vitality to better set up for the Drake. So what Abbedagge does is actually move through the enemy jungle because of how far back Jiizuké is, and catches the wave before it even reaches the lane, which means that Schalke don't have to deal with that point of pressure, can rotate down, and are better set up to deal with the Drake. So like quick thinking there from Abbedagge to just recognize the wave state and deal with it so that Jiizuké is still forced to go top, and even though Vitality had all that vision, they can't actually contest the Drake.
Well, let's see if Schalke get caught out here, because it feels like they're reading the map well, but IgNar is going to dash straight through Jactroll and gets out clean.
That was cool.
But Vedius, if you step back and look at how Schalke have played throughout the course of the game, we'll see if a skirmish breaks out. It feels like Schalke have always been on the front foot. Schalke have always been pushing for the tower, looking for the kill, looking for the skirmish, and for the most part, they have been successful.
Yeah.
It just hasn't generated a significant lead.
Yeah, I think a large part of that is because you can see some farm discrepancies building up between Cabochard and Jiizuké. They spend a lot of time sitting in a side lane and generating resources for themselves. And given that they've been stronger in the 1v1, they've been in a better position. Right now, they're looking for a fight.
They are indeed. Teleport's coming in behind Schalke, but it might be too late. That's already a kill. That's a fantastic equalizer. Mowgli as well as Jiizuké are down. But here comes Jactroll. He's charmed up. Throws out the ultimate to buy some time. IgNar zoning out Cabochard, who's Meganon timed out. Now Jactroll's down. Attila's going to be the next target. 4 members of Schalke starting to peel away. Finally, IgNar goes out as Cabo runs for his life. Upset needs a couple more autos. The plasma's stacked up. Can he chase him with a hypercharge? Not just yet, because the boomerang blades slow him in his space.
Very close fight between Vitality and Schalke. It was Schalke that initiated that because they felt like they had caught Vitality out of position. Unfortunately for them, they were in a narrow choke point, and Jiizuké plays it extremely well in order to actually secure himself a kill. The problem is they can't disengage because of the rumble ult that gets dropped across them as they're looking to disengage. So again, notice how on the map, Schalke know that this flank is trying to come through, so they attack one of the flanks. They attack the front facing. Kiana dies instantly though, from the burst from both Mowgli and Jiizuké. This gives Schalke the opportunity to then set up the collapse. But then the flank finally comes through from Vitality. Notice how Cabochard doesn't have his ultimate. Attila takes a little bit too much damage, and while he does find a good pick onto IgNar, Cabochard can't commit to the fight. So this demonstrates how close the fight still can be. If Vitality do find some pretty good flanks onto this grouped up Schalke against this many squishy targets, then it's a great opportunity for them to actually come out on top. And Attila's now completed some items where he's doing some real damage. So Schalke can't be convinced that they're just going to win all of these fights. Again, they excel in skirmishes, and then when they're playing around objectives is when they can utilize some of the strengths of their composition. But in a full front to back team fight, I feel like Vitality should have the edge.
The thing is, you also talked about fighting in choke points earlier, and look at what Schalke can do in choke points. That equalizer dealt over 10,000 damage, I believe, from Odo. Just doing such a great job, or rather with the use of it. He's got himself the Leandro, he's got himself the Hourglass with 2 quick kills in the jungle. Rageblade, Phantom Dancer, Storm Razors means Upset is fully online, and this should be a fairly safe Baron.
This was a great pick coming out from Schalke. Ooh, great stun from Abbedagge.
Oh, look at that. Killer Instinct plus Abbedagge's perfect executions. Throws out the 5-point strikes. Jiizuké is going to be the next target, and this is just an easy rundown. Triple kill for Abba. 7-1-7. For Schalke, and they are looking to set Vitality up with a tiebreaker game at the end of the day.
This was exactly how Schalke wanted to play this comp. Vitality walked into an area of the map that did not belong to them, and Schalke punished them for it. They find those picks, they find those skirmishes, and with a numbers advantage, it is so much easier for them to force these objectives. Beautifully played by Schalke, demonstrating why they comfortably sit in the 4th place spot, and while Vitality will be forced to fight their way through SK in order to lock a spot in playoffs.
Let's take a look how that started with this replay brought to you by Alienware.
So again, notice how on the minimap, Vitality do not have control over this area of the map. The river does not belong to them. They have Jiizuké down in the bot lane, and even though he has TP, Vitality are not in a position to answer. Schalke initiate the pick, and then Vitality walk in. They throw out the Q thinking they're safe. Abbedagge dodges out from it, and then he just executes the very squishy Attila, resulting in a triple kill at the very end of the fight. Very well played from Sjokz.
Exceptionally well done, and after seeing all the pressure Abbedagge was on during the laning phase, Jiizuké was in his face over and over and over. The moment the map opened up, just feels like Schalke have been able to do a lot more work. That gold lead is now 7,000, 3.5 items across most of the carries on the Schalke side. And now with Baron and Powered Sieges, look at this, 1, 2, and 2. They can just move in between the lanes as and how they feel.
Yep.
They've got teleports up for Odo and Abbedagge, and it's just, this is Schalke's paradise right now.
Yeah, I feel like, you know, I looked at this Vitality draft and like I can see some options, but it still felt a little weird to me. It feels like that they had no obvious early game plan that they could look to leverage, and I don't feel that their scaling was that much stronger than Schalke's, that they could just afford to sack the early game. And really it feels like the Vitality had very limited options in how they could get ahead in this game, and it just meant that Schalke got to dictate the pace for the vast majority. And they've executed their comp extremely well. It's cool to see this style of comp from Schalke, because it is a little harder to execute. It does rely on you playing that more aggressive style, looking for picks, relying on deep vision, and I feel like Trick and the team overall have actually played very aggressively, and moving into playoffs, this is good to see, especially when you want to be able to match up against the likes of Fnatic and G2, who will brawl with you and challenge you in this early to mid game.
And this could be one of the matchups in round 1, because Splyce will be able to pick between Vitality or SK or Rogue, and whoever's left will play Schalke. So this could be a preview. Now, of course, Vitality, they are on the verge of losing the game, and if you are a fan of SK Gaming, then you need to tune in at the end of the day, where SK and Vitality will play in a do-or-die match for the 6th and final seed going into playoffs. Now we'll take a look here as Jactroll gets engaged on. IgNar's trying to zone as many people as possible. Jactroll's ulti's buying a lot of time as Equalizer comes out. Once again, fantastic from Odoamne. The cow is down, and so is the blind man. Now Jiizuké is the next target. He is blown up by Abbedagge as Attila is forced to arcane shift and flash to safety. Yes, Cabo arrives to the party, but it's already over, and Vitality are being kicked off the premises. Abba dives all the way to the steps. Can't quite catch. Yes, he does. Gets Attila under the fountain. IgNar Cabochard gets popped for the ace, and Schalke no fear at 28 minutes have created a tie-breaker match for the final spot in playoffs. Vitality face SK later today.
I mean, what a stomp from the side of Schalke. It felt like that they were the ones constantly dictating the pace of the game. They were the ones being very proactive on the map. And while we saw Jiizuké doing well in terms of the 1v1 matchup, but Schalke mitigated that pressure extremely well. Trick spent a lot of time supporting him. We saw a lot of roams from IgNar. We even saw roams down from Odoamne to mitigate the advantages that Jiizuké tried to build up for himself. And then it was a lot of Schalke setting up vision, constantly finding picks, and the one team fight where Vitality could have potentially come back, the execution is slightly off, and Schalke walk away victorious.
Dylan Falco will be joining us for the post-match of this game, and I think you'd be pretty proud of the team.
Yeah.
Vedius, I really liked not only your predictions and your expectation setting for the draft, everything you talked about how you wanted to see Schalke play the game came true. I personally was a little nervous. I didn't see the lead being very big. I didn't see as many kills. I was like,
sure.
Ooh, Vitality are in with a shot. But once the map opened up, oh, it couldn't be further from the truth.
Yeah, I mean, they ended the game in 28 minutes, right? And that
Yes.
just goes to show that the game felt a little longer, but it's weird to think that there were 22 kills for the side of Schalke in that matchup, and a lot of them didn't come from the early game, it was the mid game. And that's when we said, once those 1 or 2 items come in, that's when this composition really comes online. You talked about it, we discussed where it starts to happen, and then Schalke just kept finding pick after pick, small fight after small fight. And notice how we never really had a full-on 5v5 team fight, and that was the perfect scenario for Schalke to leverage in this mid game.
And I think you have to give a lot of credit to the individuals on Schalke. Their ultimates were on point. I mean, Odo's equalizers. IgNar did such a great job of zoning. His recon was always keeping crucial threats away. I recall when Vitality were TPing him behind the mid banana bush, IgNar single-handedly kept Cabo out until the rest of Vitality were dead. So it's just great individual performances, great team performance from Schalke. And we got a couple nominations for Key Up Player of the Game. Over at LOL Esports is how you vote. Your options are Abbedagge, Upset, and IgNar. This is a really tough one for me.
For sure. Both had incredible scorelines, so any of you fans at home that want to vote for KDA players, 9-1 and 8 for Abbedagge, 6-1 and 9 for Upset, so he's a little lower than your mid laner, 1-1 and 15 for IgNar, the highest KDA of the 3. So I'm just saying, offering a little bit of help for those at home. Maybe show some support, a bit of love.
Unless I'm mistaken, isn't mathematically, doesn't matter. Nevertheless,
I'm pretty sure I'm right.
It was a very good performance from Schalke, and I think we're going to hear a little bit more insight on the win. Let's check in with the analyst desk.
Yes, thank you so much, Quickshot. We are indeed joined by, I was going to say Daniel Falco for some reason, thinking of Dracos.
Welcome, Daniel Falco.
Which is already an amazing name for Schalke. 04, what a run you guys have had as of late. You, of course, locked in playoffs just last week, but you've just been going from strength to strength. How do you look back on your team's performance in the last couple of weeks?
I think like our entire last half of the split was pretty strong. I think a couple of the matches we dropped, at least from our perspective, were very clearly due to some early game mistakes or really big draft issues. But other than that, I think we played quite good and have shown that we're one of like the strong contenders going to playoffs.
Yeah, and I think in particular, Trick and IgNar have just stepped up hugely for me.
Actually, IgNar is really smurfing.
No, IgNar is super smurfing.
Yeah.
Like in yesterday's game and today's game, both, it was all about just like finding these roams and collapses on side lanes where he and Trick pair up and do this all the time. And it seems like no team is actually giving the respect to them to be able to do this because they keep getting those same kills every time.
Yeah, we draft and we practice to be a very active team. I think the way teams like G2 are playing right now is like the correct way to play. So I think having players like Trick and IgNar who are really experienced and good at pulling the trigger is quite good for us, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. If we take a look at the picks and bans, I know you can't say too much, obviously. You have a lot of games left to play. What would you say the main objective was for the early game with this composition?
I think Akali gets pushed at the first levels, but then Silas generally has kind of pressure in the matchup. Around mid, and of course mid is really important. So I think what we wanted to do is create a lot of skirmishes early with Rumble Push, with Kiana in the jungle, and just kind of try and outfight them. You saw we also used our TPs really well in this game. There's like the triple TP behind them. I thought that was super cool.
Yeah.
So just kind of a lot of fighting, I would say.
We're going to look at those TPs later. First, though, we're going to take a look at this because early on, Upset does get pushed around.
Yeah.
But they were able to sort of turn this around. Now, of course, we had the gank in the mid lane, too. Trick likes to give a lot of attention to Abbedagge. It's one of the things we've noticed a lot. I'm sort of curious how that comes about, because it seems like sometimes like it works out really well for you guys. Other times, Abbedagge isn't quite able to translate that advantage.
I think like there's obviously the Fnatic game we played where it went very poorly, but I think overall it works well for us. I think we just think it is the best way to play the game. I think G2 plays this way. I think that a lot of the top teams play this way, and just mid lane is such a central part of the map, and we have a really strong mechanical mid laner that we just think is good.
Yeah, he was, of course, a rookie. We've been watching him very closely. What would you say the biggest step forward is that Abbedagge has taken this split compared to before?
I think it's two things. One, I think everyone says it's like 24/7. That Trick coming in has made Abba play a lot more confident and kind of led him a bit. Also, I think I've done a lot better job of putting him in the champions that he's good at and in matchups where he can really excel. And third is just experience. Like the guy just played another split. So often a lot of the young players, their first split can be a bit shaky, but I think he's playing super good now.
Yeah, no more Lissandra, I mean, sometimes, but he gets to play.
Maybe for playoffs.
Yeah, maybe for playoffs he gets to play.
No, keep him on the Akali. We like to see Abbedagge on the Akali. That's a good match.
Yeah, fantastic. He's also going to be a guy to watch as you guys go into playoffs, what he can do with the team. I heard you talking about your TPs beforehand, and this is something that Ender also noticed in your previous games. We have a couple of replays as well. The fact that you are so good at using your pressure in those side lanes to make the game more favorable for you.
Yeah, and specifically, as you already mentioned, it seems like it's always being led by IgNar and Trick. This is specifically starting off around the bottom side of the map, because early on with that 2v1 kill on towards Upset, the lane started to go a little awry for you guys, and it seemed like the whole of Schalke did a great job of stabilizing and shutting down Attila.
Like, I think often Vitality has the right idea in that they'll be roaming mid to kind of contest it so they can get pressure on the map, but it seems in this game they're doing it often like at the wrong timings and leaving their side lanes or other members on the map kind of exposed.
Yeah, and not respecting the teleport cooldowns being up, of course. Seems like they struggled a bit with controlling vision along the river too, which also let IgNar and Trick make their way on those long angles. So it was always like coming all the way behind towers to get the kills.
Actually the triple TP was really cool this game. I was listening to the comms and it was like really planned out quite some time in advance that they were all going to TP behind, and it was cool.
What do you make about the difference between Schalke and Vitality? I say this because in times before, there's always been a big rivalry, and things are actually pretty close and would go either way. Now it seems that Schalke has really become better than the team that Vitality is at this point in time. How big do you think the gap is, and what do you think about Vitality's current form?
I think it's quite big, honestly. And Vitality locked in playoffs?
No,
Or
they
can
need to play a tiebreaker versus SK Gaming for the last spot.
I think that one will be quite close. I wouldn't be surprised if SK won, actually.
What do you think is their biggest issue right now?
Oh, it's just all over. They all just play so aggressive and not really together often. Like their players aren't coordinated, and it's really hard to say.
Yeah, communication issues is what we've cited, but it's kind of blanket statement. We don't really know. I do want to take a look at the final replays here. There were many team fights by the end, and honestly, it didn't look like you guys were going to lose that game, but this is a particular one in Vitality's jungle.
Yeah, this big one that sort of set up for you guys to secure the Baron a couple minutes after that, but it seemed like once you guys took control over certain areas of the map, and even with Sylas being isolated bot lane, you had Odoamne roaming up on the Rumble as well. You always had the numbers advantage in these fights. We're always the ones pulling the trigger.
Yeah, we have the also like the Kiana Roma combo. I saw that one in NA last week. So.
Pretty nasty.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Pretty nasty indeed. Yeah, it was all she wrote for Vitality. Fantastic game from Abbedagge, who, by the way, picks up the Kia player of the game with 41% of the votes. I like listening to him in interviews and stuff. He's seems like a really pretty calm guy, but is probably very happy that he gets this high honor from the crowd.
Yeah, it's actually whenever he gets player of the game, it's always a big deal because everyone always kind of ribs on him a bit, and he always now he has something to throw back at them.
Yeah, and show off to the rest.
Exactly.
I can imagine. Final question for you, Dylan. Schalke, for me, has kind of flown under the radar. I don't know if you guys experienced that the same way, because, you know, we're obviously always talking about the G2s and the Fanatics of this world, the battle of Splice, and then the underdogs. But meanwhile, Schalke is just putting up the results, is now comfortably in playoffs as 4th place. Yeah. How do you feel the playoffs can go for you?
I think we can do really well. I think we're really looking at and confident that we're good enough to make it to the World Championships, and that's what everyone is playing for. I also think that if you look at the track record of players like Trick and IgNar, and even Upset from last year in a best-of-5 scenario, that teams really should be treating us as one of the top teams,
Yeah, I think that core of the squad is really, really talented, and something that teams are going to have to keep their eyes on is IgNar. You heard it here, smurfing, definitely top class.
Yeah, I can't wait to see what Schalke 04 shows us in the playoffs, but that is next week. After the break, we'll look back at Jankos' career before he and G2 Esports face off against XL.
Here comes a flanking TP.
All right, Odoamne as well as Abbedagge. They've got one, and now Jactroll is going to get cut down.
The Schalke have stronger skirmishing. They have a stronger mid game, and it's much easier for them to collapse on sides.
Well, Cabochard gets caught up by the charm.
They've been stronger in the 1v1. They've been in a better position. Right now, they're looking for a fight.
They are indeed. Teleport's coming in behind Schalke, but it might be too late. That's already a kill. That's a fantastic equalizer.
This was a great pick coming out from Schalke. Ooh, great stun from Abbedagge.
Oh, look at that. Killer instinct plus Abbedagge's perfect executions. Throws out the 5-point strikes. Jiizuké is going to be the next target, and this is just an easy rundown. Abba dives all the way to the steps. Can't quite catch. Yes, he does. Gets Attila under the fountain. IgNar Cabochard gets popped for the ace.
You don't have a chance against me. I can calculate 90 trillion moves in advance. Not fair. Not fair.
Red Bull gives you wings.